Well, hello. Did you guys all enjoy our trip to the museum? So, yesterday was a whirlwind of activity. My husband was told by whoever his boss is that anybody that works for the district, like through the school, that their families, that they get in for free to the museum. So yesterday all the kids waited all day. I made the older ones stay home, but they wanted to go, and then Allie asked if her boyfriend could come with us, and I'm like, sure, thinking, they said, families can get in for free. And they were excited to go. I mean, even the older ones were excited because we've never been able to afford to go over to the museum. And they change out the exhibits. So this month they had the dinosaur one, and they rotate it out. Sometimes they do the human anatomy one, and then they've had like Toytopia. That's the one I would have liked to see because I'm not like the biggest dinosaur fan. Kennedy got to see the Toytopia one with her class on a field trip. But anyway, just everybody was excited to go, and they have more than just the dinosaur stuff, as you saw. So, but we got there, and she started asking like how many adults, how many kids, because anybody that was 13 and older was considered an adult. So, we were telling them, and she goes, okay, well, minus my husband who has the badge for District 93. And then I was curious, I'm like, why is she asking all of this if it's free? Like, why does it matter? But I just figured because they have to like put it into their computer still or something. Like, I didn't know. So we're all standing there waiting and waiting and waiting, and then she's like, okay, that will be $90. We were like, what? And my husband's like telling her, I was told, like, here's the text. And she's like, I don't know why they thought that. It must have been a misunderstanding. She's like, we've never done that. It's only for the person that is the educator or works for the school district. And he was like, well, that's stupid. Why would you come by yourself? Like, why wouldn't it be for your family? And she's like, it's never been that way. He's like, but he had text saying that from 2 other people that work with him that their families got in for free. And she was like, well, maybe the person that was like doing the tickets or didn't know and just took their word for it, or I don't know. It was like this huge misunderstanding, and she ended up taking only $12 off because apparently if you're a student it's $2 cheaper. So she just did 12 for like 2 of them. I don't remember the math, but we ended up paying still, what is that, $78 to get inside the museum. I mean, the money, we had it, but we don't. We've been trying so hard to be careful. And my older kids, like Parker and Allie, like they overheard what was going on. And they're like, it's fine if we need to leave. And I'm like, I don't want to do that either. Because Parker's like, let's just go do something else. I'm like, well, anything else is like what? It's going to end up costing, like if we go out to eat, like it's going to cost even more than that. Than going to see the museum. I'm like, we're already here. The kids are excited. I wanted to go inside, so we paid it, and it sucks, but we ended up having a good time. I would like to purchase like a season pass. I think it's $40 per person. I was telling Adam that maybe we should start an envelope for something like that, like for the zoo or the museum or the aquarium or something, because it's kind of hard to see everything when you have all the kids running around and their attention spans are all different. Like Adam's ADHD, he wanted to read every single sign. He wanted to look at every single thing. And where Allie is like that too, whereas the other kids and myself get distracted more easy, and we're jumping from thing to thing and then going back. So it just made it kind of hard to see everything. And then they had like this play area for the kids, and then Kennedy did not want to leave out of there. So I thought it'd be cool if we were able to get like 4 passes, like individual passes, and then rotate it between like the kids, because that would be a really good date night too. Because sometimes like it's like, what do you do on a date besides go out to dinner or maybe do a movie? And then I feel like when you're at a movie, it's not really a date because you're just watching a movie, you're being quiet. And then at dinner you're eating. I don't know, we don't really go to bars and stuff, so it's like, what is there to do? Like, that would be a really fun date, to go to a museum, like just me and Adam, and walk around and be able to take our time and not have to worry about, you know, Kennedy knocking over million-year-old fossil bones. Anyway, I'm glad we went. It didn't it wasn't free, which sucked, but you know, we still made some memories, and I got some videos and some cool pictures of the kids. And I was looking at where they showed the old school, how they did school. One of the first teachers in this area, her name was Rebecca, so I thought that was funny. I think she was the first teacher because it was written on the blackboard. In other news, when I took Jillian in, so here's the story with Jillian's finger. Back in 2019, literally, it was like a week before we moved here, Wesley accidentally slammed Jillian's finger in a door. And man, she screamed and cried, and I was like certain that we were going to be at the ER that night. I thought it was broken, but I mean, she had kind of like a crease from where the door, it didn't shut like all the way. It just, you know, pinched it. And there was a little bit of bruising, and we iced it, but she was able to move it. And I think we gave her like Tylenol or whatever. And then the next day, I asked her how it was. Like, I remember vividly, because I'm like, do we need to go to the doctors before we, you know, move in case it's broken? Like, I'm like, that's a really bad time to like have a break when we're just getting ready to move states. And she's like, no, I can move it. And Adam's like, you know, I think it's fine. It didn't swell. And she never complained about it after that night. Like, she never said anything else about it. Fast forward to 2020. I remember laying in my bed with her, and I was reading to her. We were reading a book together, and you know, we were holding hands, and you know, I was just playing with her fingers, and I just happened to look down, and her finger was like just barely like kind of crooked. And I'm like, your finger's crooked. And she goes, yeah, that it's been that way for a little while, but I had never noticed it, and she had never said anything. And I'm like, is that the finger that you got smashed in the door in California? And she said, yeah. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I wonder if it was broken and we didn't know. And so the next day I called the pediatrician, and they said, go ahead and bring her in. So I brought her in, and they looked at it, and they said, well, there's not much we can do. So I wouldn't worry about it unless it starts giving her, you know, problems again. And now here we are, 2023, and 4 days ago, she was like, Mom, my finger hurts. And I'm like, your finger hurts? I'm like, what'd you do? She goes, I don't know. And she showed me her finger, and I was like, what? Like, her whole finger is like completely off to the side, like super crooked. I'm like, what in the world happened? I'm like, that's the same finger. And she's like, yeah, it's the finger that Wes smashed in the door. I'm like, did you hurt it? Like, do you remember? And she goes, I don't remember doing anything. She's like, it just kind of makes this popping noise. And I'm like, that doesn't sound good, and that doesn't look good. So I called on Monday, and obviously it wasn't an emergency, so they couldn't see me Monday. So they got her in yesterday. I took her in, and the doctor was really nice. So we'll see. So I dropped Kennedy off at speech and OT, and they told me to go get an x-ray at this one place, and I should have just taken her yesterday, but we were going to the museum. So I'm like, well, I'll just take her in the morning when I drop Kennedy off, and then I'll head over there because it'll be early. They said we didn't need an appointment. They already had our order put in or a referral put in. I'm like, I'll just take Jillian, get her x-ray done, and then go pick up Kennedy, and then, you know, we'll be done for the day. But, you know, it never goes the way I want it to. So I dropped Kennedy off, ran Jillian over to the place to get the x-ray, and they don't open till 10. So I'm like, that's perfect. It was only 8:30. It was like 8:45. So we came home. I told her to eat something. I'm like, I'll jump on here and finish the vlog and get some editing done so I can post it, because I haven't made a video in a while. And then go pick up Kennedy. She's done at 10. And then Kennedy will just have to come with us to do the x-ray, because I don't want to come all the way back to drop Jillian or Kennedy off and wake up the older kids and make sure they, you know, watch her, because it's spring break, they're all still asleep, and then go back to do the x-ray. So I'll just take Kennedy with us and give her my phone to watch to keep her occupied. And so hopefully it doesn't take long. And then tomorrow, they got us in right away. Tomorrow Jillian sees the hand specialist, so it'll be interesting. And I was going to update you guys on Wes. He got all his test results back, and so his growth plates, because they did an x-ray of his hand, and by the x-ray they can show, to back up in case there's anybody new, my son Wesley he's 13 and he didn't grow at all for almost a year and a half. So they referred us to have a bunch of testing done to make sure it's not his pituitary gland or anything else going on. He ended up growing between the time that they found out he hadn't grown in a year and a half to the time he had this appointment. He grew 1/4 of an inch, which was good news. So there was a little bit of growth, but he is really below average on weight and height. So what the doctor told me is that they can just take an x-ray of the child's hand and they can tell from that if their growth plates are immature, then that's actually a good thing, because that just means that it just hasn't caught up yet. But if the x-ray is mature, it's where it's supposed to be, then there's other steps that we can take. And then they ran a bunch of other like blood tests to rule out like the pituitary gland and then like hormone deficiencies or anything like that. So all of his blood work came back good. Like there was no signs of diabetes or the hormone imbalance or the pituitary. There was none of that. But the bad news is that his growth plates were mature, so they were where a 13-year-old's growth plates should be, but yet he's not growing right. So based on like family history, so my husband is on the shorter side. He's barely 5'7", and his dad is the same way, but his brother is 5'10". So like sometimes we'll skip like not a generation. I don't remember how he worded it, but he said like for this day and age, like because me and my husband were both born in 1977, and then my father-in-law was born in the 40s. So for my father-in-law, it's a little bit more normal, but for like Adam, like I don't really believe in evolution, but the way he was describing it, because humans do have to adapt to their environment. So if you look at old houses from like the 1700s and 1800s, the doorways are a lot shorter in them. Like you have to duck to get under them because people were shorter back then. And so humans like adapt. And so we've gotten taller. But Wesley and Adam kind of missed that boat, and his dad, like with that gene, but it's not common for this day and age that Wesley, even though Adam's shorter and Danny is on the shorter side, because both Danny's father was 5'10", like Adam's brother, and then Adam's mom's dad was average height too, I think almost 6 foot, or maybe I have the two grandpas mixed up, but Adam should have been taller. And so based on that, it means that Wesley can either end up being anywhere between 5'2" and 5'5", which is not ideal. I mean, that's pretty small for a male. So what they have done is they prescribed him some medicine, which is good in a way because he's on Vyvanse, which is it's like Adderall, just a different one that does suppress your appetite. But he needs it to help regulate emotions and focus on school. And he's like a different kiddo on this medication. But they gave him, I forget the name of the medicine, Kennedy takes it too. And he takes it twice a day, and it increases his appetite. Like it genuinely makes him hungry. I just have to really monitor what he's eating, because I don't want him to just eat junk and then put on unnecessary weight, not good weight, on a small frame. Like that would be no bueno. We don't want that for him either. So I have to be really careful like what he eats. So he's been drinking like a lot of the protein shakes and eating lots of eggs, like lots of protein based food, cheese, which he has no problem with. He's not a big carb eater anyway, unless it's like top ramen. So he's been doing really good. Like he actually wakes up hungry and I'll have one of his shakes and a yogurt, and a lot of times I'll make him 2 scrambled eggs so he can start putting the weight on. And then they gave him these pills, I forget what they're called too, there's just so many medications that actually slow down the growth plates, because his growth plates still have room to grow. Like they're not done because he's only 13. But like hormone wise, his body's where it should be at 13. I know it's kind of confusing, but these pills slow down the bone growth, which is what we want. We want it to slow down. And what that will do, it's not going to make him taller. Like it's not like he takes this pill and like he's going to, it's going to make him grow. It's just going to slow down so his bones can catch up, so that hopefully he can at least get to like 5'7", 5'10", so he can take these pills for 3 years. And I went and read the study, because they did, I think it was like a group of 400 teenage boys, and they all saw, like, after, I remember what it was, like 10 years, there was a significant growth in them. And it's gradual, so it doesn't just happen like overnight. It's not like some magic pill that just makes you tall, like Alice in Wonderland or something. Like, it takes time. It just slows those plates down and lets so that your body can naturally get height. I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean, I'm glad he didn't have anything else going on. That's all it was. It's just genetic. And like, Adam could have had this done too as a kid, but they didn't have the science and the technology behind it, so it wasn't available. So Adam's just stuck being on the shorter side. I mean, it's not that bad. He's, my height. But yeah, for this day and age, for like the last few generations, males, typically the average is 5'10". That's what the doctor was telling me. So that was interesting. Because I think Wesley, doesn't want to, because, he could stop at 5'2" and be done. And that's what they were worried about. They don't want to see that. If he stopped at 5'5", it wouldn't be the greatest, but it wouldn't be as bad as if he stopped growing at 5'2". Because for females, when they stop growing at 4'9", 5'1", because of our hormones and the different things in our bodies, it's not as bad as for a male. I can't remember everything he said. It was like a lot of information, but so he's on those medications, and we go back in June to reevaluate everything for him. And so now I'm starting Jillian stuff. I've got Jillian, Tiffany, and Wes on the wait list for speech and OT. Only Wesley needs the speech therapy though. And then I've got in 504 and a possible IEP for Tiffany. I've got that meeting coming up next Wednesday. Lots of appointments like normal, but me and Adam have our birthdays coming up. My birthday is Sunday, his birthday is Wednesday, and he had talked about getting a hotel just in town, just to have a night away from the kids. Because we're like, well, the kids have been doing so much better, like behavioral wise, that we figured that they could handle one night, because my oldest is almost 18. But we decided we're not going to do it, not because we don't trust them, but because I just felt like that money could be put towards something else, because hotels aren't cheap unless you stay somewhere that's funky, and I didn't want that. Like the night, I think the cheapest one we found for one night was like $160 for like a nicer, like not a Motel 6 or something. And I was like, we're just paying just to go to sleep. Like, so what we've done, and then because we were going to go out to dinner and stuff, what we decided to do is I've asked the kids to find somewhere to spend the night, like at a friend's house Saturday. And then I've got one of my friends from church is taking Jillian and Wesley for me, and then just going to take them to church Sunday. And we'll still have Kennedy, because I'm not ready to let Kennedy spend the night somewhere. She still has, a lot of things that she needs me for. Even at 8 years old, like she has trouble using the toilet and stuff. So, but she's, pretty easy. Like, I can give her tablet, and she usually goes to bed between 8:30 and 9. Like, she gets tired fast. And so I figured if the kids can go somewhere, then we can just have our night out at home, even if we have Kennedy here. And instead of going out to dinner, because Adam got some New York steaks, I think last summer, that he vacuum sealed. And I'm like, you have those steaks sitting out there. Let's use them. Like, you've been saving them. I'm like, here's an occasion. The kids won't be here because there's not enough for everybody. I'm like, you can grow those steaks for me and you. I'll make some baked potatoes, and we have like a ton of like broccoli that we can steam. I'm like, let's just have dinner here. We'll, maybe we'll go order a movie on Amazon Prime or something, or just sit down and redo our budget, because we've had some stuff happen and we need to redo it again. Like, just some quiet. We'll just have our night out at home. And then in the morning, because we're gonna not go to church, that way we can sleep in, we can go out to breakfast. And so that's our goal. That's what we're gonna do, because breakfast tends to be cheaper than dinner anyway. And we'll save maybe going out to dinner for like our anniversary. And honestly, like, because Adam was talking about going to like a steakhouse, I'm like, I could never get my steak right when we go somewhere, like, and it's been a long time since we've been to a place like that, but I like it well done. And it always tastes like leather to me, like it doesn't taste good. Where Adam is just so good at grilling, like he can make my steak well done with no pink and it still is like juicy. Like I don't know what he does, but it's so good. So I'd rather him cook it anyway, and we already have it, so that's what we're gonna do. And I just bought him 2 little gifts, and I think he bought me a couple small gifts, and that will be our birthday. His birthday's Wednesday, but you know, he works and stuff, so we're celebrating together. So I think that's all the updates, and I don't know if I'll film our birthdays this year because there's really nothing to film because it's just gonna be us at home. I'm getting ready to take St. Patrick's Day and put up the few Easter decorations I have because Easter is so early this year. Oh my goodness. All right, guys, let me know how everybody's doing. Leave me some comments of some things you would like to see. I know you've told me before, but I forget, and it's just been crazy with the kids. So let me know. And I was thinking about changing my channel name again because I feel like my vlogs are family, and then I'm cleaning, and then or I'm rambling like this. So I was thinking about like calling it something like now I just lost the name that I had. Home Life Diaries with Rebecca. I was gonna have the word diary in it somewhere because I kind of feel that's what my channel is. It's a diary of our life. So it's just a little bit of everything. All right, guys, chicken tendies. Bye.